The morning sun was shining over Geneva when the alarm started ringing. Ambassador Dayho was drinking his coffee when his assistant ran into his office. Her face was white with fear. "Sir, you need to see this right now," she said, pointing at the big screen on the wall. Dayho put down his coffee and looked at the screen. What he saw made his heart stop. Huge ships were floating above Earth. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ships were dark and scary-looking, with sharp edges and red lights. "How many ships?" Dayho asked. 50 of them, sir. They just appeared out of nowhere." Dayho grabbed his phone and called Admiral Millon. She was the head of Earth's space, Navy. The phone rang 3 times before she answered. "I see them too," Millon said before Dayho could speak. "My ships are ready, but these alien ships are huge. Each one is 10 times bigger than our biggest ship." "Any messages from them?" Dayho asked. "Yes, they want to talk, but only with our top leader. They said they want to meet on their ship." Dayho thought for a moment. This was the most important day in human history. First contact with aliens. But these aliens did not seem friendly. "I'll go," Dayho said. "Get Captain Wanbin to take me up there. I want our best pilot." 2 hours later, Dayho was sitting in a small Earth ship flying toward the biggest alien ship. Captain Wanbin was flying the ship. He was young but very good at his job. "Sir, I'm getting readings on their weapons," Wanbin said. "These ships could destroy our entire fleet in minutes." "Keep recording everything," Dayho told him. "We need to learn about their technology." The alien ship was so big that it blocked out the sun when they got close. A hole opened in the bottom of the ship, and their small ship flew inside. The walls around them were made of dark metal with strange writing on them. They landed in a huge room. Alien soldiers were waiting for them. The soldiers were tall and thin, with gray skin and black eyes. They wore black armor and carried weapons that glowed with red light. "Follow us," one of the soldiers said in perfect English. "The Supreme Commander is waiting." Dayho and Wanbin walked through long hallways filled with more soldiers. Everything was dark and cold. The air smelled like metal and something else Dayho could not name. They entered a giant room with a high ceiling. At the far end, a huge alien sat on what looked like a throne. This alien was bigger than the others, with scars on his face and arms. His eyes were bright red. "I am Supreme Commander Kelthak of the Vorthak Empire," the alien said. His voice was deep and scary. "You are the leader of this planet?" "I am Ambassador Dayho. I speak for the United Earth Federation," Dayho said. Trying to keep his voice steady, Kelthak laughed. It was not a nice sound. "Ambassador? You send an ambassador to meet your new master?" Kelthak stood up from his throne. He was almost 3 meters tall. "Let me make this simple for you, little human. Your planet now belongs to the Vorthak Empire. We are a peaceful people," Dayho said. "But we govern ourselves. We do not belong to anyone." More aliens in the room started laughing. Kelthak held up his hand, and they stopped. "Peaceful? How cute," Kelthak said. "Do you know how many star systems we control? 47. Do you know how many ships we have? 2,000. Do you know how many we lost taking those systems? None." Kelthak walked closer to Dayho. Each step echoed in the big room. "Your entire fleet has what? 200 ships. Tiny ones at that. We could destroy them all before your pilots could even start their engines." Captain Wanbin was standing behind Dayho, quietly recording everything with a hidden camera. The alien technology, their weapons, their ship designs. Everything was being saved for Earth's scientists to study. "What do you want from us?" Dayho asked. "Simple," Kelthak said. "Your people will work for us. You will mine metals from your planet. You will build ships for our empire. Your strongest people will fight in our armies. Your smartest people will work in our labs. And if we refuse?" Kelthak smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Then we will burn your cities from space. We will turn your oceans to steam. We will make your planet a dead rock floating in space. But do not worry, some of your people will survive." "As slaves." The room was quiet except for the sound of machines humming. Dayho looked around at all the alien soldiers watching him. Their weapons were ready. "You have 72 hours to surrender," Kelthak said. "Bring all your leaders to this ship. Have them kneel before me and accept Vorthak rule." If you do this, we will let most of your people live. And if we don't, then you will learn why 47 star systems chose slavery over death. Daeho stood up straighter. He thought about his wife back on Earth. He thought about his children. He thought about all the humans who trusted him to speak for them. Supreme Commander Kelthak, Daeho said in a calm voice, I need you to understand something about humans. We are a peaceful species, but we have survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that would have destroyed other people. We have faced extinction many times, and we are still here. Kelthak stopped smiling. This is your only warning, Daeho continued. Leave our system peacefully, and we will forget this happened. Stay, and you will face consequences you cannot imagine. The room exploded with laughter from the alien soldiers. Even Kelthak was laughing again. You warn us? You and your 200 tiny ships warn the mighty Vorthak Empire. Kelthak wiped tears from his eyes. Oh, this is wonderful. I have conquered star systems with billions of people, and none of them dared to threaten me. I am not threatening you, Daeho said. I am warning you. There is a difference. Kelthak's laughter stopped. His red eyes became angry. Get this fool off my ship, he told his soldiers. In 72 hours, I want to see him kneeling and begging for mercy. 2 soldiers moved toward Daeho and Wanbin. Captain Wanbin put his hand on his weapon, but Daeho shook his head. We're leaving, Daeho said. But remember what I told you. As they walked back to their ship, Wanbin whispered to Daeho, Sir, I recorded everything. Their weapons, their ship designs, their numbers. Our scientists will want to see this. Good work, Captain, Daeho said. Now let's go home and prepare. Prepare for what, sir? They have 2,000 ships. We only have 200. Daeho smiled for the first time since the aliens arrived. Captain, you've been in the Earth Defense Fleet for how long? 3 years, sir. And in those 3 years, how many of our ships have you actually seen? Wanbin thought about it. Maybe 50 or 60, sir. The rest are always on patrol or in maintenance. Exactly, Daeho said as they climbed into their ship. Captain Wanbin, it's time you learned what the Earth Defense Fleet really is. As their small ship flew away from the huge alien vessel, Admiral Mion's voice came over the radio. Ambassador, how did it go? They gave us 72 hours to surrender, Daeho said. Admiral, it's time to activate Silent Thunder. There was silence on the radio for a moment. Are you sure, sir? Once we activate that protocol, there's no going back. Daeho looked out at the alien ships floating around Earth like dark clouds. I'm sure, Admiral. It's time to show them what humans can really do. Admiral Jiwan stood in the secret command center buried deep under the mountains of Switzerland. The room was huge, filled with screens and computers that most people on Earth didn't even know existed. Hundreds of people worked at stations, all of them wearing the same serious expression. Activate Silent Thunder, Jiwan said into her headset. Across the solar system, things that had been hidden for decades started to wake up. Behind Jupiter's largest moon, massive ships powered up their engines for the first time in years. Inside, asteroid belts, what looked like floating rocks, split open to reveal deadly warships. Even the sun itself hid secrets. Ships with special heat shields had been orbiting inside the corona, invisible to any scanner. Captain Hyunwoo felt his ship come alive around him. The Soul's hammer was 3 times bigger than the largest ship the aliens had seen. It had been hiding behind Mars for 2 years, waiting for this moment. All systems online, Captain, his weapons officer reported. The railguns are charged and ready. Good, Hyunwoo said, looking at the tactical display. How many ships do we have in our battle group? 2,000 ships, sir. All Dreadnought class or bigger? Hyunwoo smiled. The aliens thought they were facing 200 small ships. They had no idea that Earth's real fleet had 50,000 vessels. In another part of space, Dr. Nari was reviewing files that were marked with the highest security level. She was the head of human military intelligence, and she knew secrets that would shock most people. Director, the alien communication channels are all open to us, her assistant said. We've been listening to their empire for 30 years. Show me their tactical data, Nari said. The screens filled with information about Vorthak ships, weapons, and battle plans. Humans had been watching the alien empire for decades, learning everything about them. Every time the Vorthak conquered a new world, human spies recorded their methods. They always used the same plan, Nari said, studying the data. Big ships, direct attack, overwhelming force. They've never faced an enemy that could match their numbers. What about their technology? Her assistant asked. Older than ours, Nari said with a smile. They stopped improving their weapons 500 years ago. Why change something that always wins? Meanwhile, Colonel Taman was in a lab surrounded by alien technology. But it wasn't technology stolen from the Vorthak. It was technology taken from 12 other alien races that had made contact with Earth over the past century. The Andorian shields, the Kelbrid weapons, the Zephyrin engines, Taman said, pointing at different displays. We've improved all of them. His team had taken the best technology from every alien race they'd encountered and made it better. Human scientists had a gift for taking something good and making it great. Sir, the new railguns are ready, one of his engineers said. They're 50% more powerful than anything we've seen. And the adaptive armor? It learns from every hit and gets stronger. The aliens will find their weapons getting weaker with every shot. Taman nodded. Humans didn't just copy alien technology, they improved it. The Vorthak were about to learn what happened when a race of engineers and scientists had 100 years to prepare. Back in the command center, Admiral Jiwan was coordinating with fleet commanders across the solar system. Each group of ships had been hidden in a different location, waiting for this day. Admiral Soyon, report from Jupiter Group, came a voice over the communicator. 10,000 ships ready, Admiral. We've been practicing attack formations for 3 years. Admiral Kangmin, Saturn Group status. 15,000 ships standing by. The aliens won't know what hit them. Admiral Dongyun, Asteroid Belt Group. 20,000 ships hidden throughout the belt. We can attack from any direction. Jiwan looked at the main display showing the positions of all human ships. The Vorthak had spread their 50 ships around Earth, thinking they controlled the system. They had no idea they were surrounded. Captain Wanbin was back on Earth giving a briefing to the Planetary Defense Council. He had brought back detailed recordings of the alien ships and technology. Their shields are strong but old-fashioned, he reported. Our new weapons should cut through them easily. Their ships are big but slow. They depend on fear more than actual fighting ability. What about their numbers? Asked General Min-Seok. They said they have 2,000 ships. That's their entire fleet, Wanbin said. They use the same ships to control 47 star systems. If we destroy their fleet here, they have nothing left. Ambassador Deho listened to all the reports with growing confidence. The Vorthak thought they were dealing with a primitive planet with a tiny fleet. They were about to learn the truth about humanity. Admiral Ji-won, Deho said, how long has the real fleet been hidden? Since 2287, sir. 100 years ago, we detected the first alien signals. We've been preparing ever since. And the aliens don't know? The ships they saw are just our patrol fleet. We keep them visible so anyone watching thinks that's all. We have. The real fleet has been built in secret shipyards on the far side of the moon and in deep space. Dr. Nari joined the briefing by video link from her intelligence center. We know everything about them, she said. Their language, their tactics, their weaknesses. We've been studying them for decades while they ignored us. What's their biggest weakness? Deho asked. Pride, Nari said immediately. They've won so many easy victories that they can't imagine losing. They don't scout properly, they don't adapt their tactics, and they underestimate everyone. On the screen, they could see the Vorthak ships still floating around Earth. The aliens had no idea that thousands of human ships were moving into position around them. Colonel Taman's voice came over the communicator from his lab. All new weapons are loaded and ready. Our ships have technology the Vorthak have never seen. Rail guns that can punch through 3 ships at once. Missiles that get smarter during flight. Shields that adapt to any weapon. Admiral Jiwan pulled up a tactical map showing both the alien ships and the real human fleet positions. They gave us 72 hours, she said. We'll only need 72 minutes. Captain Hyunwoo checked the time on his command screen. 60 hours had passed since the aliens delivered their ultimatum. In 12 hours, they would expect Earth's surrender. Captain, we're receiving new orders, his communications officer reported. Hyunwoo read the message and smiled. It was time to reveal the truth to the Vorthak Empire. All ships, Prepare for Operation Thunderstrike, he announced to his fleet. In 12 hours, we show these aliens what humans can really do. Across the solar system, 50,000 human ships began moving into final attack positions. The Vorthak still thought they were dealing with 200 small vessels. They had no idea that they were about to face the largest space fleet in galactic history. Admiral Millon, who commanded the visible fleet, sent a message to the Vorthak flagship. Supreme Commander Kelthak, this is Admiral Millon of the Earth Defense Fleet. We have considered your offer. Kelthak's reply came quickly. Good. Are you ready to surrender? We have a counteroffer, Millon said. You have 1 hour to leave our system peacefully. After that, we cannot guarantee your safety. The aliens' laughter could be heard over the communication channel. You still threaten us? With your tiny fleet? This is amusing. Sir, Millon said calmly. You've made one big mistake. What mistake? You assumed the ships you can see are the only ships we have. In the command center, Admiral Jiwan watched as the countdown timer reached 1 hour. The Vorthak had laughed at humanity's final warning. Now they would learn why that was a mistake. Fleets, this is Admiral Jiwan, she announced. Silent Thunder is now active. Show them what they're really facing. Across the solar system, 50,000 human ships decloaked at the same moment. The Vorthak suddenly found themselves surrounded by a fleet 25 times larger than their own. On the Vorthak flagship, alarms started screaming as sensors detected the massive human fleet appearing from nowhere. This is impossible, Kelthak shouted. Where did they come from? His tactical officer was staring at his screen in shock. Sir, we count 50,000 human vessels. All of them are larger than our ships. We're completely surrounded. For the first time in his life, Commander Kelthak felt real fear. The hunt was about to begin. Supreme Commander Kelthak stared at his tactical screen in disbelief. Red dots covered the display, each one representing a human ship. There were so many that the screen looked like it was bleeding. How many ships? He demanded. 50,000. Sir, his tactical officer replied, his voice shaking. They're everywhere, behind every moon, in every asteroid field, even hiding in the sun's corona. Kelthak's pride began to crack. The Vorthak Empire had ruled the galaxy for 500 years. They had never faced an enemy with more ships than them. Signal the fleet, Kelthak ordered. All ships prepare for battle. We'll show these humans why we rule the galaxy. But his confidence was gone. He could see it in the eyes of his crew. For the first time, they looked scared. Admiral Soyeon watched the alien fleet from her command ship hidden behind Jupiter's moons. She had waited 3 years for this moment. The humans had studied every Vorthak battle, learned every tactic they used. All ships, this is Admiral Soyeon, she announced to her fleet. The aliens expect us to attack like everyone else they've fought. Big ships charging forward, lots of noise and fire. Instead, we're going to show them something new. The human fleet began to move, but not like any military force the Vorthak had ever seen. Instead of charging forward, they moved like a pack of wolves, surrounding their prey, cutting off escape routes, attacking from unexpected angles. Commander Junho led the first wave of attack. His squadron of small, fast ships darted between the massive Vorthak vessels like insects around giants, but these insects had deadly stings. Target their weapon systems first, Junho ordered his pilots. Blind them before they can fight back. Thai. Human fighters moved so fast that the Vorthak gunners couldn't track them. Precision laser strikes disabled gun turrets and missile launchers before the aliens could fire a single shot. Captain Yoonji commanded the artillery ships, massive vessels, designed to deliver devastating long-range attacks. Her ships stayed far from the battle, launching railgun projectiles at incredible speeds. Fire, Yoonji ordered. The railgun projectiles moved so fast they were invisible. The first shot punched through the side of a Vorthak cruiser, tore through. The ship's interior exited the other side and continued into the ship behind it. One shot had damaged 2 ships. Target the next cluster, Yoonji said calmly. Show them what real firepower looks like. On the Vorthak flagship, alarms were screaming. Ship after ship reported damage or destruction. Kelthak couldn't understand. What was happening? Why can't we hit them? He shouted. Sir, their ships are too fast and too small, his weapons officer reported. Our guns were designed to fight big, slow ships like ours. Then send out our fighters. We don't have fighters. Sir, We've always relied on our big ships to win battles. Kelthak realized his first mistake. The Vorthak had never needed to change their tactics because they always fought enemies weaker than themselves. The humans were forcing them to fight a completely different kind of war. Captain Hyunwoo brought his dreadnought Soul's hammer into the thick of the battle. His ship was 3 times bigger than the largest Vorthak vessel, but it moved like a ship half its size. "Target their flagship," Hyunwoo ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves to their commander." The Soul's hammer opened fire with every weapon it had. Advanced missiles that could change direction mid-flight, laser cannons that could cut through the thickest armor, and rail guns that fired projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The Vorthak flagship's shields flared and failed under the assault. Explosions rippled across its hull as the human weapons found their targets. "This is Captain Hyunwoo of the Earth Defense Fleet," he announced over the communication channel. "Supreme Commander Kelthak, you wanted to see our real capabilities. How do you like them so far?" Kelthak's ship shook as another volley of human weapons struck home. He had never been in a battle where his flagship was actually in danger. "Retreat!" Kelthak ordered his fleet. "Fall back to the edge of the system." But when his ships tried to run, they discovered another human surprise. General Min Seok had predicted this moment. While the battle raged, human engineers had been busy. "Sir, we can't leave the system," Kelthak's navigator reported. "The humans have placed mines on all the escape routes, smart mines that follow our ships." "What?" Kelthak stared at the tactical display. Every way out of the solar system was blocked by clouds of intelligent weapons. General Min Seok smiled as he watched the alien fleet realize they were trapped. "Every great general knows you have to control the battlefield," he said to his staff. The Vorthak forgot that lesson. The human mines weren't just blocking the escape routes, they were learning. Each mine was connected to a network that shared information about Vorthak ships and weapons. The longer the battle went on, the smarter the mines became. Admiral Jiwon watched the overall battle from her command center. The human fleet was performing perfectly. They had surrounded the aliens, cut off their escape, and were systematically destroying them ship by ship. "Casualty report," she requested. 12 human ships damaged, none destroyed," came the reply. 43 Vorthak ships destroyed or disabled. The difference was devastating. The humans were winning without significant losses. On the Vorthak flagship, panic was spreading through the crew. They had never seen their mighty fleet being destroyed so easily. "Sir, the humans are jamming our communications," the communications officer reported. "We can't call for help." "Sir, our weapons can't penetrate their armor," added the weapons officer. "Sir, our engines are failing," reported the engineer. Kelthak felt his empire crumbling around him. The humans had turned his fleet into helpless targets. Captain Wanbin had been right about the alien weaknesses. The Vorthak ships were big and impressive, but they were designed to fight enemies who would be scared of them. Against an enemy that refused to be intimidated, they were just large, slow targets. Commander Junho's fighters darted around the remaining Vorthak ships like angry wasps. "Every pass disabled more weapons, destroyed more engines, killed more alien crew members. This is too easy," one of his pilots reported. "They can't even track us properly." "Stay focused," Junho warned. "Overconfidence killed their empire. Don't let it hurt ours." Captain Yoonji's artillery ships continued their devastating long-range bombardment. Her railguns could fire from so far away that the aliens couldn't even see where the shots were coming from. "Sir, we're running low on targets," her weapons officer reported. "Then find new ones," Yoonji replied. "Every Vorthak ship that escapes today might come back with friends tomorrow." The battle was becoming a massacre. The human fleet had superior numbers, better technology, and smarter tactics. The Vorthak were being destroyed without being able to fight back effectively. Admiral Soyeon decided it was time to end this. "All ships, begin final assault," she ordered. "Show them how this war is going to end." The entire human fleet attacked at once, 50,000 ships against what remained of the Vorthak force. The aliens had started with 50 ships. Now they had less than 10 that could still fight. Kelthak watched his fleet die around him. Ships that had conquered star systems were burning hulks floating in space. Crews that had terrorized billions of people were dead or dying. "Signal surrender," he ordered quietly. "Sir?" His communications officer wasn't sure he had heard correctly. "I said, signal surrender," Kelthak shouted. The battle is over! But it was too late. The humans had learned from studying 47 conquered worlds. They knew what the Vorthak did to people who surrendered. There would be no mercy for an empire built on slavery and murder. Captain Hyunwoo received the surrender signal, but ignored it. The Soul's hammer continued firing until the Vorthak flagship was a drifting wreck. This is for every world you destroyed, he said, as he watched the alien ship break apart. In less than 2 hours, the mighty Vorthak invasion fleet was completely destroyed. Only 3 small ships managed to escape, racing away from the solar system with news of the disaster. Admiral Ji-won watched the last alien ship disappear into hyperspace. Let them go, she told her fleet commanders who wanted to chase them down. Someone needs to tell the rest of their empire what happened here. The Battle of Sol was over. Humanity had won its first interstellar war without losing a single ship. The Vorthak Empire, which had seemed invincible for 500 years, had been crushed in a single afternoon. But this was just the beginning. The humans had tasted victory, and they were far from satisfied. The hunt was about to become a war of liberation. The 3 surviving Vorthak ships limped back to their empire's capital world of Theknara. Emperor Vrexthon had ruled for 200 years, and in all that time, no one had ever brought him news of defeat. Impossible, the Emperor said after hearing the report. You're telling me that 50 ships were destroyed by primitives? Not 50 ships, my Emperor, the ship captain said, his voice shaking. The entire invasion fleet, 2,000 ships. They had 50,000 vessels. We were completely outmatched. Emperor Vrexthon's red eyes burned with anger. 50,000 ships? From a planet we had never heard of until last week? This is madness. But the reports kept coming. Long-range sensors confirmed that the human fleet was real and massive. The Vorthak Empire, which had seemed unstoppable for centuries, faced an enemy stronger than itself. On Earth, the victory celebration was brief. Admiral Kangmin stood before the War Council with grim determination. The battle here was just the beginning, he announced. Intelligence reports say the Vorthak Empire holds 47 star systems as slaves. Billions of people are suffering under their rule. What are you suggesting? Asked Ambassador Daeho. We hunt them down, Kangmin said simply. Every ship, every base, every world they control. We free everyone they've enslaved and make sure they can never hurt anyone again. The decision was made quickly. Humanity would not wait for the Vorthak to regroup and return. They would take the war to the enemy. Captain Yeren commanded the first liberation fleet. 20,000 human ships jumped into hyperspace, heading for 3 different Vorthak-controlled systems simultaneously. The aliens would learn that humans could fight on multiple fronts at once. The first target was Corvani, a world that had been enslaved for 300 years. The Vorthak had strip-mined most of the planet and forced the native population to work in terrible conditions. Entering Corvani system, Yeren's navigator reported, detecting 15 Vorthak ships in orbit. Only 15? Yeren smiled. They really don't understand what they're facing. The Vorthak ships around Corvani were not warships. They were mostly cargo vessels and mining platforms. When the human fleet appeared, the aliens immediately tried to run. Let some of them escape, Yeren ordered. We want them to spread word about what's happening. Terror is a weapon too. The human attack was swift and precise. Within an hour, every Vorthak installation in the system was destroyed or captured. But the real work was just beginning. Dr. Jiho had developed something called the Liberation Protocol. As soon as a world was freed, human ships would broadcast the truth to every enslaved planet in the Empire. People of the galaxy, the broadcast began. The Vorthak Empire told you they were invincible. They lied. The humans of Earth have destroyed their fleet and are now freeing every world they enslaved. Rise up, fight back, freedom is coming. The message was sent in dozens of languages to hundreds of worlds. Dr. Jiho had spent years learning about all the different species the Vorthak had conquered. On the surface of Corvani, Captain Yeren met with the local resistance leaders. The native people were small and blue-skinned with large eyes that showed centuries of sadness. Is it true? Asked their leader, an old female named Jara. The Vorthak are really gone? From this system, yes, Yeren confirmed. But they still control many other worlds. We're going to free all of them. Why? Zhara asked. What do humans gain from helping us? Yaren thought about the question. It was one that many humans had asked too. Because it's right, she said finally. Because no one should live as slaves, because we can help, so we should help. The freed aliens were suspicious at first. Every other species they had met had wanted something from them. But as the days passed, they began to understand that humans were different. The human ships brought food, medicine, and technology to repair the damaged world. They didn't ask for payment or tribute. They didn't claim the planet for themselves. They simply helped, and then prepared to leave. Where will you go? Zhara asked Yaren as the human fleet prepared to depart. To free the next world, Yaren replied, and the next one after that. Meanwhile, Admiral Kangmin was leading the assault on the Vorthak military headquarters at Balthor Prime. This was where the aliens trained their soldiers and built their weapons. The humans had learned from captured data that Balthor Prime was supposed to be the strongest fortress in the Empire. It was protected by massive orbital weapons and a fleet of 500 warships. Approaching target, Kangmin's tactical officer reported. Enemy fleet is moving to intercept. Show them what human engineering can do, Kangmin ordered. The human ships were equipped with adaptive weapons that learned from every battle. The technology taken from 12 different alien races and improved by human scientists proved devastating against Vorthak defenses. The orbital weapons that were supposed to protect Balthor Prime were destroyed in minutes. The defending fleet lasted less than an hour. The humans had not just won, they had made it look easy, but the most important victory was happening on a small world called Nexara. This was where the Vorthak kept their communication center, the hub that controlled messages across their entire empire. Commander Heyoon led the assault on Nexara with just 500 ships. She didn't need more. The planet was defended by outdated weapons and inexperienced crews. Capture the communication center intact, she ordered her ground forces. We need their equipment working. Within 6 hours, human soldiers had taken control of the planet's communication network. Now they could send messages to every world in the Vorthak Empire. Dr. Jiho's liberation protocol went into full effect. On hundreds of worlds, enslaved populations received the same message. The humans are coming. Freedom is real. Fight back now. The effect was immediate and devastating. Slave rebellions broke out across the empire. Vorthak garrisons found themselves fighting desperate people who had nothing left to lose. Emperor Vrexthon watched his empire crumble from his throne room on Teknara. Reports flooded in from every corner of his territory. Ships destroyed, worlds lost, armies defeated. How many systems have we lost? He asked his military advisor. 17, my emperor, and more rebel every day. What about our reserve fleets? Destroyed, my emperor. The humans seem to know where all our ships are hiding. Vrexthon didn't know that humans had been spying on his empire for decades. Every secret base, every hidden fleet, every escape plan. Humans knew about all of them. Perhaps we should negotiate, suggested his advisor. Ask for terms. Negotiate? Vrexthon's voice was full of rage. I am the Emperor of the Vorthak. I do not negotiate with anyone. But even as he spoke, he knew his empire was doomed. The humans fought like nothing the Vorthak had ever faced. They were merciful to slaves and civilians, but ruthless toward oppressors. They turned every victory into a weapon by broadcasting news of their success. On Earth, Admiral Dongyun was preparing the final assault. Intelligence reports showed that Emperor Vrexthon was gathering what remained of his fleet for a last desperate battle. He's calling back every ship from every outpost, Dongyun reported to the War Council. About 800 vessels, all, converging on Teknara. And our fleet? Asked Ambassador Deho. 30,000 ships ready for the final battle. We'll outnumber them almost 40-1. But the humans weren't taking any chances. They had learned that desperate enemies could be dangerous even when outmatched. Captain Hyunwoo was given command of the siege fleet. His job was to make sure no Vorthak ships escaped the final battle. Surround the entire system, he ordered his commanders. Nothing gets in or out without our permission. Meanwhile, Captain Yaren continued liberating worlds with her fast-moving task force. Every day brought news of another planet freed, another Vorthak garrison destroyed. The aliens, who had spent centuries as slaves, began to hope. Some of them joined the human fleets, eager to fight their former masters. Others worked to rebuild their shattered worlds. All across the galaxy, the word spread. The humans were winning. The mighty Vorthak Empire was falling. Freedom was possible. Emperor Vrexthon received one final message from the humans. It came from Commander Heun, speaking from the captured communications center on Nexara. Emperor Vrexthon. Her voice was cold and clear. You had your chance for peace when you first met us. You chose war instead. You thought our kindness was weakness. Now you face the consequences of that mistake. The Emperor stared at the communication screen, his empire burning around him. The humans are coming, Hyun continued. Surrender now, and your people might survive. Fight us, and share the fate of every tyrant who thought they were stronger than justice. Vrexthon turned off the communication and looked at his advisor. Prepare the fleet, he said quietly. If the Vorthak Empire must die, it will die fighting. But, in his heart, he knew the truth. The Empire was already dead. The humans had killed it not with superior numbers or better weapons, but with something the Vorthak had never understood. Hope, and hope, once lit, was impossible to extinguish. The final battle took place in the shadow of Theknara, the Vorthak capital world. Emperor Vrexthon had gathered every ship he could find, 800 vessels representing the last strength of his dying empire. Admiral Dong-yun watched the alien fleet from his flagship Busan's Pride. The human fleet surrounding the Vorthak was so large it blocked out the stars. 30,000 ships against 800. The biggest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. Final warning. To all Vorthak vessels, Dong-yun announced over the communication channels. Surrender now, and your crews will be spared. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed. Emperor Vrexthon's reply came quickly. I am the Emperor of the Vorthak. We do not surrender to anyone. Then you've made your choice, Dong-yun said, sadly. All ships, begin the final assault. The battle was swift and terrible. The Vorthak fought with the desperation of a dying empire, but they were hopelessly outmatched. Human weapons that had been perfected through dozens of victories tore through alien defenses like paper. Captain Hyunwoo led the assault on the Emperor's flagship. The Soul's Hammer had fought in every major battle of the war, and its crew had become legends among both humans and freed aliens. This is for every world you enslaved, Hyunwoo said as his ship's weapons found their target. The Emperor's flagship exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the planet's surface. Emperor Vrexthon, who had ruled the galaxy through fear for 200 years, died as his empire fell around him. Within 4 hours, every Vorthak ship was destroyed or captured. The war was over. On the surface of Theknara, the alien population waited in terror for the human landing force. They had heard stories about what conquering armies did to defeated peoples. They expected death, slavery, or worse. Instead, they met Captain Beomgyu and his peacekeeping force. People of Theknara, Beomgyu announced through the city's communication system. The war is over. The Vorthak Empire is finished. You are free. The aliens didn't understand at first. Free? What did that mean? We're not here to conquer you, Beomgyu explained to the crowd that gathered around his landing site. We're here to help you build something better. An old Vorthak citizen, one of the few who remembered life before the Empire, stepped forward. What do you want from us? He asked. Nothing, Beomgyu replied. We want to give you something. The chance to choose your own government, live your own lives, make your own decisions. It took months for the aliens to believe it was real. The humans kept their promise. They helped rebuild damaged cities, shared technology and medicine, and then prepared to leave. Ambassador Sunmi arrived to establish the Galactic Liberation Council. Representatives from 47 freed worlds gathered on Theknara to create a new government for the galaxy. The Vorthak Empire ruled through fear, Sunmi told the assembled delegates. The Liberation Council will govern through cooperation. Every world gets a voice. Every species gets respect. The meeting was chaotic at first. Dozens of different species, each with their own languages and customs, trying to work together. But slowly they began to understand each other. The small blue people from Corvani worked with the tall crystalline beings from Zephyr Prime. The aquatic species from the water worlds found common ground with the flying creatures from the gas giants. Fear was replaced by hope. Dr. Jiho was put in charge of the Galactic Communication Network. Her job was to make sure all the freed worlds could talk to each other and coordinate their efforts. Information wants to be free, she said, as she activated the new system. No more secrets, no more lies. Every world knows what every other world is doing. The network became the backbone of the new galactic civilization. Trade agreements, defense pacts, scientific discoveries, everything was shared openly. Captain Yaren was given command of the new Joint Defense Fleet. Ships from dozens of worlds worked together under human leadership to protect the young democracy. We're not an empire, she told her mixed crews. We're a family, and families protect each other. The fleet was smaller than the old human war fleet, but it was more diverse. Vorthak ships redesigned for peace, Corvani vessels adapted for defense, human dreadnoughts serving as mobile bases, all working together. 6 months after the fall of the Empire, the formal surrender ceremony took place. The few surviving Vorthak leaders were brought before the Liberation Council to face justice. Admiral Chae-young was chosen to accept their surrender. She had fought in every major battle of the war and earned the respect of humans and aliens alike. "Do you surrender the Vorthak Empire unconditionally?" she asked the defeated alien leaders. "We surrender," came the bitter reply. "Do you acknowledge the crimes your empire committed against the peoples of the galaxy?" "We acknowledge them." "Do you accept the authority of the Galactic Liberation Council to determine your fate?" There was a long pause. Then, quietly, "We accept." The trial of the Vorthak war criminals became a symbol of the new galaxy. Justice was served, but it was fair justice. The worst criminals were imprisoned for life, but common soldiers who had just followed orders were allowed to return home. Emperor Vrexthon was dead, but his advisor had survived the final battle. In his prison cell, he asked to speak with Admiral Chae-young. "I need to understand," he said when she visited him. "How did you do it? How did humans accomplish the impossible?" Chae-young looked at the old alien, once one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, now just a prisoner in a small cell. "You made the same mistake every bully makes," she said. "You thought being loud made you strong. You thought fear was power. You thought because you could hurt people, they would always be afraid of you. And humans are different. Humans learned long ago that real strength comes from protecting others, not hurting them. Real power comes from helping people be free, not making them slaves." The old advisor was quiet for a moment. "And you never wanted to rule the galaxy yourselves?" "Rule it?" Chae-young laughed. "We have enough trouble running one planet. We don't want to rule anyone. We just want everyone to be free to rule themselves." As the new galactic government took shape, human explorers were already pushing into unknown regions of space. Captain Wanbin commanded a survey fleet that was mapping star systems beyond the former Vorthak territory. "Sir, we're detecting artificial signals from the next system," his communications officer reported. "Another alien civilization?" Wanbin asked. "Possibly. Should we approach carefully?" Wanbin thought about the lessons learned from the Vorthak conflict. "Send them a message first. Tell them we come in peace, but we're prepared to defend ourselves and others if necessary." The galaxy was vast, and there were probably other empires out there. Some might be peaceful, others might be hostile. But now the galaxy had protectors who understood the difference between strength and bullying. On Earth, life was returning to normal. The great war fleets were being reduced in size, their crews returning home to families and peacetime jobs. But the shipyards kept working, building new vessels for exploration and defense. Ambassador Deho, now head of Galactic Affairs, met with representatives from newly freed worlds every day. Each species brought their own problems and solutions to the growing alliance. "Humans saved us," said Jara from Corvani during one of these meetings. "But they also taught us to save ourselves." That was perhaps humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. Not just freedom from the Vorthak, but the knowledge that freedom was possible and worth fighting for. Admiral Jiwon, now retired, often visited the memorial on Earth that honored the few humans who had died in the war. Compared to the millions of aliens who had died under Vorthak rule, human losses had been tiny. But every life mattered. They died so others could be free. She would tell young officers who came to pay their respects. That's what makes us human. Not our ships or our weapons, but our willingness to risk everything for people we've never met. The Galactic Liberation Council grew stronger every year. New worlds joined voluntarily, attracted by the promise of freedom and protection. Trade flourished between species that had been enemies under Vorthak rule. Captain Beomgyu's peacekeeping. Forces were called to settle disputes between worlds, but now they used words instead of weapons. The galaxy was learning to solve problems through cooperation instead of conquest. Dr. Nari, still head of intelligence, kept watch for new threats. The galaxy was a big place, and humanity had only explored a small part of it. There might be other empires out there, other species that believed in rule through fear. We'll be ready, she promised the council. Humans learned long ago that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. As the years passed, the story of humanity's war against the Vorthak Empire became legend. Children on dozens of worlds grew up hearing about the humans who came from a small blue planet and taught the galaxy that freedom was stronger than fear. But for the humans themselves, it was just the beginning. They had shown the galaxy what was possible when people worked together instead of fighting each other. Now came the harder task, building a civilization worthy of the sacrifice. The galaxy was free. The real work was just beginning. In the end, the Vorthak Empire had been right about one thing: humanity was dangerous. But not in the way the aliens had thought. Humans were dangerous to tyrants, to bullies, to anyone who thought might made right.